Welcome to the April 4th, 2016 Farmington School Board meeting. It seems as if Mother Nature's played a lovely April Fool's joke on us here in the first part of the month with the weather. My voice is a little rough today, so if it gives out completely, I'm going to put Mrs. Moore in charge. Do we have any public participation at this time? Please step to the mic and state your name.
Brandy Sanger.
Brandy.
I just wanted to give you a letter, and I'll bring it up to you, just requesting non-public minutes regarding Coach Sendry. And attached to that is his release saying that it's okay to release anything related to his coaching position.
Okay.
Once they're approved, then...
Right, they'd have to be approved once the minutes are approved.
Right.
Right, okay. Thank you. Anyone else from the public? No? Okay. Approval of minutes, March 21st, 2016, public session.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Moore. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Frieda. Any discussion, corrections, admissions?
I have.
Yes, Ms. Moran.
On the public on page 3, Lori Visorio's name is spelled incorrectly.
Whereabouts on page 3?
Quarter of the way down on the left.
Okay. Oh,
I don't have them open on my device yet.
you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that was it for me. That was-
While we're on that page, first paragraph toward the bottom, second sentence from the bottom of the first paragraph on that page, Mr. Shagnon stated that just because an assistant principal was cut did not mean Valley View wouldn't have an assistant principal for at least part of a day at the elementary school. That should say couldn't. That's an option of how they structure the administrative team in the future. The next sentence down, my name is spelled incorrectly. There's just a typo there. And then 2 paragraphs down on that same page where we talk about when Mrs. Vittorioso got up and spoke, Mr. Shagnon stated if the board was happy with the direction that the school was going, that they would be looking to keep the administrators on board, but that they would have to reapply because those are interim positions. Next page. Under school board reorganization, 3rd line down, Shagnon is spelled incorrectly. That's all I had. Anybody else? Mrs. Cardinal.
Page 1, going back to page 1, Mrs. Cardinier's first name is Samay, S-A-M-A-I, not May.
That's under the second
Public.
sentence.
Right under public participation, second line.
paragraph.
Sorry. S-A-M-A-I. I think we've done that to her before in a previous meeting too. We called her Meg. And then on page 3, about halfway down above approval of minutes, Ms. Cardinal stated that the board should solidify whether staff will be placed in the schools as the district might lose some talented, I said employees, not administrators. On page 4, under school board reorganization, Ms. Cardinal stated that it is in the board policy that a secretary would be able to create the agendas for the meetings. No, sorry. That wasn't stated. Oh, it was an opportunity for this, that if we had a secretary, that person could help with agendas, and added as backup as the record keeper when the recording secretary is not available. That was set. I don't know if it was by me or someone else.
Anything else?
Yeah.
I don't have any corrections. I would just have a request that the pages be numbered on all of our
Yeah.
minutes.
I mean, unless you can catch it when it goes by, I don't know what page I'm on right now.
Yeah, no, they're not. They're
Oh,
not.
sorry.
They're not numbered.
On page 5, this is a suggestion. Oh, no, there is a correction and a suggestion. Under reappointment of deputy treasurer, Ms. Verville stated that Ms. Barry was voted the treasurer. It's actually Kathy Seaver that was voted the treasurer, right? At the
Mary
election.
Mary Barron.
Mary Barron.
Mary Barron, thank you. And then my suggestion is, when we're going to be referencing all of the Mrs. Barrys on staff, we might want to put an initial or
The
first name.
deputy treasurer was not Mary Barron. It was
It's Jane Longchamps.
Jane Longchamps, yeah.
Right, but Mrs. Barron was voted as the treasurer.
Treasurer.
Right, but I thought we were looking at
Elected.
reappoint deputy treasurer.
Right, we changed both
Yeah,
names.
read the sentence.
That should be
Yeah.
Longchamps, right?
Longchamps is the last
she
name
was
of the
the
deputy
treasurer.
treasurer.
Right, but we're reappointing her, right?
Right.
Carol stated that Mary
And
Barron.
it was Mrs.
was
Barron
voted
that would
the treasurer,
reappoint.
that-
And that she could
oh,
forward
that
a
she-
deputy treasurer.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. You're right.
Halfway down on page 6, FAME is F-A-M-E-E. Under public participation, almost to the bottom, the second to last paragraph, Mrs. Laura Vittorioso asked about the insurance. Ms. Moore indicated there was no change at this time. It was Mr. Shagnon that stated if the non-public meeting minutes are approved, anyone could go to the SAU and get copies.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Vittorioso wasn't
That's
here.
why I misspelled my paper copy.
Sorry, that's all I had.
Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstains? Non-public session 1 for March 21st, 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Mrs. Moran, second by Mr. Frieda. Any discussion? Here is omissions.
Yeah. Did you have your hand up?
Can I ask
I'm
for
sorry.
a point of order? You guys asked me to answer a question relative to Mr. Long and Mrs. Cameron.
Yes.
Mrs. Cameron had not been paid. We have directed that she should be paid for the first half of the years, so each will be paid $205.50.
Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. Moran?
Page 2. I made a motion, and there's no vote on the motion. It was a motion to approve the list.
Third paragraph down.
Second.
A second.
Yeah, Mrs. Warren made
Oh,
a
okay,
motion
yeah.
to approve, and nowhere in here is the vote, so I believe it was, I don't know what it was, if it was unanimous or not.
Those were the adoptions of the employee list.
Yeah.
We did vote, and I certainly remember my vote.
I remember mine.
Do you have any notes on that, Mrs. Cardinal?
I have it further down that the motion was to approve the nominations only.
Correct.
And in here it states to approve everything,
At this point of clarification, you don't approve
the
reduction?
alternative.
No.
Right.
I mean, if I don't nominate
Okay.
them, then...
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just need that clarified here. Good.
Did you have a vote by any chance listed?
That's what I'm looking to see.
Well, I voted to approve
Yes.
the list.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I voted in the affirmative.
Mr. Petrie?
I don't remember.
Mr. Frida?
I
Remember,
believe
you
I
voted in the
approved it.
nominations.
I believe I did, but
I thought it was unanimous.
It was a
but-
lengthy discussion. The vote came very late after that. So we're noting that it was a unanimous vote, folks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to note that there was a unanimous vote taken on that motion.
Thank you.
You have another one?
I did, I had one on page 3.
Mrs. Shagnon?
Yeah, Mrs. Shagnon, yeah, I had that one.
Fourth paragraph down, it says Mrs. instead
Have
of
a
Mr.
point of
Shagnon.
clarification by any chance? That was a lengthy discussion, and on the next page, 1, 2, 3, 4 down, the one that starts with Mrs. Cardinal, is that the vote for that motion all the way back up there? Because there's no motion for that vote. I think that was all discussion about the vote.
I think that was more discussion. Yeah, I think it
Is there
goes
ano-
all the way to
Oh,
that
Right,
page, yeah.
there's the vote.
Okay, so the
But then-
motion on the cuts and nominations is amended, because there was some changes.
But there was already a motion on the table.
Yeah, right above it is the vote, and then it was amended below.
Right. So that was 4 in favor with Mr. Frieda opposed.
2 opposed, and Mrs. Moran, too, the one above.
I don't know if those are the same motions. Do you think they're the same motion? When I read that, I didn't find them to be the same motion.
Yes, it's not. I think the one is about the adding of the list, and the
Right.
other was about the whole
Right,
amended thing.
Right, this is a second motion.
Yeah, it's two separate discussions.
Right. The first one is the amendment, and then the second one is the final motion that was all the way up on the top of the page there.
My other correction was just above the second. Mrs. Moran stated she was not in favor of a part-time principal position. I wasn't in favor of full-time.
Okay. But as I'm reading this, and as people are going to read this,
I know we need to clean it up.
it looks to me now, in reading that line where Mr. Petrie made a motion, I understand he probably didn't need to at that point because there was a motion on the floor, but it looks like our vote, after we made amendments, was 4-1.
Yes, I think that's true.
Anybody have any problem with that? Following this, Kelly? Yeah. Sorry. So that links back really to that original motion about that list, and then all that discussion happened. Okay?
Do we want to table these minutes and let Diana and Kelly get together since Diana read these minutes? Do we want to?
I'll accept that as a motion. Motion to
Yeah.
table. Do I have a second? All in favor of tabling? Aye. Opposed? All right, so we'll clean that up. Non-public session 2 from March 21st, 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Cardinal, second by Mrs. Moran. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Non-public session 3 from March 21st. A motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Cardinal? Second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Moran?
I'm not seeing them on.
Oh, he's here.
No, thank you.
Any discussion? Errors, omissions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. New business. We have some scholar athletes to acknowledge.
Right, I don't know if you want to give the table to Joe or not, it's,
No, you can, whatever. I'd like to call the following people to the podium. Let me see, you know who you are, so. One of the good parts of this job.
Those of you watching for home, Mr. Petrie is going to stand at the podium, and the student athletes, scholar athletes are going to join him up there at this time.
Derek Pullen. Let me see if you hold that. Derek and DJ Hersom. Mary Lou Shepherdson. I'm going to hold yours so I can read this, what this, this is State of New Hampshire State House, Concord, New Hampshire. These flags were flown over the New Hampshire State House in honor of these 4 scholar athletes on March 25th, in the year of our Lord, 2016, and of the independence of the United States of America, 240. These kids were recognized by the governor in Concord. I believe that was March 14th, is that correct? And it's a pretty outstanding achievement. They have to have a B+, and they have to play, what, 2 senior varsity sports. And that's quite an achievement to do both. And I really appreciate that. I wish there was more, but it shows you how tough it is. But usually, one thing, and I love to attend because I like to watch these bigger schools, and we don't usually have, or they don't usually have as good of a showing as we do. And it's really something to watch if you ever get a chance. So if you'd take your flags and fan them out so we can get pictures. I'd like to get a picture there.
That's got it.
Get it right side up.
Good job.
Great job, folks, great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. Thank you very much.
Good job, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Petrie.
If it's okay with the board, I'm going to special order and move up Valley View. We have some Valley View students here and staff tonight for the presentation. Great. We have students too.
So I will introduce them for you.
Just, if I could interrupt right here, also, the superintendent donated the money for the flags, and I appreciate that. So, thank you, Mr. Pfeiffer.
So tonight we have Tammy Cook and, excuse me, Abby Keller are here, and they're going to talk to you about our Drums Alive program that we've been doing, and they're going to give you a display. They wanted to have all of you come and try it, but I told them it was a little tight in here. We didn't know if we'd have enough room for everybody to try it out, so.
Okay, back in November at the annual PE conference, one of the sessions was Drums Alive. So I went to it. It was a packed room. The enthusiasm was amazing. And so I came back and talked to Abby about it. We decided it would be cool to team teach and present it at our school. We had the drum lady, Annie Poirier, come and do a one-day residency with the staff and the kids, and it has just taken off since there. Abby's presenting a slideshow on it.
Hi everybody, I'm Abby Keller. I'm the music teacher at Valley View. I'm here to talk about Drums Alive and what we've been doing with our K-3 students. Drums Alive is a program that combines the benefits of a traditional fitness program with the brain-affected benefits of music and rhythm. Students experience a healthy balance physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. Through using buckets, yoga balls, and drumsticks, students are moving, they explore, create, and work as a community, all while having fun. The program is used to improve physical health as well as neurological well-being, and both of them together are a mind and body experience that are greatly enhanced by the rhythmical drumming patterns. Tammy and I became certified in Drums Alive this past January using the Academic Beats curriculum as our main vehicle. This curriculum is a unique approach to learning. The program not only focuses on coordination skills, movement, rhythmic patterns, and keeping a steady beat, but also integrates them through the drumming experience into educational content, such as math and science, triggering critical thinking and concentration. Both physical education and music education have a profound influence on our students, from impacting their emotions, social engagement, motivation, self-esteem, and well-being, as well as discipline. After having combined our 2 subject areas for our 2-week Drums Alive unit with the students, we can confidently say that these influences were in full effect, and we both enjoyed watching them play out with the students. As educators, we are always in constant search for teaching methods and experiences that allow our students to leave the classroom wanting to come back for more. And not only does Drums Alive meet the standard, but it's also used as a fun, safe, comprehensible, and exciting learning tool that keeps our students engaged in their learning. And I might also add that it's quite the attention keeper. Not only did Drums Alive make its way through the school day at Valley View, but it also continues after hours on a weekly basis for our staff to participate in. And above is a short video clip of our staff doing just that. Without the sound, but you can see the movements. And second is another short video clip of 2 of our kindergartners along with a classroom para using, without sticks, using just the hands. Valley View is very appreciative of the support that we got from our PTA, who purchased our yoga balls, and we thank them very much for making this program possible by providing the necessary equipment. And finally, Valley View is thoroughly pleased with the outcome of the integration of Drums Alive and thankful to be given this one-of-a-kind opportunity to our students. Tammy and I brought some of our equipment just to demonstrate, and she is going to be doing this. But just to show some examples of the possibilities that that the students have been doing with the drums, keeping a steady beat on the top of the ball, or tapping the sides, adding locomotor movement, also adding jumping jacks, hopping to the front, hopping to the back, experimenting with the different timbres, getting the bucket down to the floor, back up to the stakes. A lot of the activities that we did were either in groups of 8. So if it was a group of 8 pattern, I would ask them, cut it in half without telling them to now do 4. Cut that in half. 2. Cut that in half. Without, to get the math thinking. And another math integration that we were doing was problem solving. Giving them a number, the ones place of the number, tap the sticks. The tens place, tap the top of the ball. The 100s place, tap the side of the ball. Thousands place, tap the bucket. We would ask them to solve a math equation by drumming on their drum, and they would drum the answer to the equation. And some of them we did partners, teamwork building. This is a partner clap. There were some exercises where one partner would start on the floor, one partner starts on the sticks, going in opposite directions, and sometimes just alternating different sides of the ball. There's endless possibilities to do with Drums Alive, and those are just a few different examples that we were able to do with the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about Drums Alive from the board? I would just say if you ever bring it back to us for another presentation, bring a couple kiddos with you and let's let them. I thought we were having some kids. That's why I said that earlier. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, we have principal reports.
Matt is not here. He's snowbound.
Right.
Oh,
I heard from him earlier, Mr. Jazokis had to catch a late flight from North Carolina due to the snow, so
Thank you very much.
we'll start with,
Back on
we'll
the
start and end with Valley
Larry's
View.
here.
Okay.
So it's just me. We just completed our Pennies for Patients drive, and the students were able to raise just over $3,800. When I printed the report, we knew it was $3,000, but the final numbers are in, and we just raised over $3,800. Mrs. Olsted and Mrs. Ackerley ran the entire drive and got the staff really involved with this year. One of the things that they did was they got the kids to buy tickets, raffle tickets. I'm laughing because she's still here. They got the kids to buy raffle tickets to put a pie in a teacher's face, and Miss Cook was chosen as the staff member to receive the pie in the face. However, Miss Cook challenged the other top three because we had a race of 4 teachers right up to the end, and it kept changing leads, and so she challenged the other 3 at the celebration to come up and get the pie in the face, and so Mrs. Henry, Miss Wydecker, Mr. Pringle, and Miss Cook all got a pie in the face at the last celebration, so, and the kids absolutely loved it. And then because the students did reach their goal, Miss Berry and I will be kissing a piglet at the end of the month if anyone wants to come and visit. So Mrs. Delk, one of our parents, is going to bring in some newborn piglets for us to kiss in front of the kids because they reached their goal of $3,000. So it should be interesting. We didn't go for a big pig. We didn't want it to rush through the crowd. If you would like to see the pig, the next celebration's on the 21st at 1:15, and that's when we're doing the piglet kissing. Right now, we've scheduled all our field trips for the end of the year. The first grade will be going to Odeon Park again with the Seacoast Science Center. Second grade's going to go to the Squam Lake Science Center, and the third grade has set up 2 days to go to the Great Bay Discovery Center. We don't have any fundraisers. We did finish parent conferences and had a very nice turnout again this year. I would say probably in the 80% range for all of our parents. If they weren't in the building talking to our teachers, they were on the phone talking to our teachers, so it was a great turnout. And then I did put in the numbers for you for our kindergarten registration. Right now we have about 52 students registered, plus the 17 students that come up from our preschool, which brings us to, and I actually think we're at 54 students. I think we just had 2 more come in this week, or the end of last week, the beginning of this week. So we're expecting, we typically get 20 between the time we do the screenings and then the beginning of school, so I was figuring we'll probably get 15, and we're doing our screenings May 23rd to May 26th. Did you have any questions?
Last year we had talked about, and I know I'm probably putting you on the spot as the only administrator tonight, student-led parent conferences. Have we talked any more about that?
We have discussed it. We haven't gotten any farther with it. Just kind of the logistics of getting a first grader to present a parent-led conference. I can't speak for the other 2 schools, but I know we have discussed it and have tried to figure out a way that we can work towards that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, next.
We'll go with Larry Gordon, our facilities manager.
Evening. Thank you, Joe. Just want to give you an update on some of the projects we have going on this month or in the future. Currently at Henry Wilson, we're working to replace the emergency lights in the hallways, which have been somewhat acting up. They're hard to test. We're going with new lights that, doing some research on the LED lights that they sell now, they're actually cheaper to purchase the whole new unit than it is to purchase the battery for the current lights. So Mr. Langis has been working with us, changing them out. I think so far we've changed out, I believe, 30. There's a total of like 78 in the hallways. Hopefully with these new lights too, we can change out just every other light and have the same illumination. Next item is this coming Saturday. I have A+ athletics coming into both the high school and Henry Wilson. They're going to perform an annual safety inspection on all the bleachers, all the backboards, rims, cables on the rims and stuff, backboards, and they're also going to be installing 2 new backboards at Henry Wilson that we purchased last fall. But because of safety reasons, after we put these ones up ourselves, we decided it was better to go with somebody else to do it. And the last item, which is actually on hold now, it was, they were going to replace a heating coil and a circulator pump in the high school kitchen for the kitchen hood, which we had a freeze up in it, and one of the coils burst. They were supposed to do it April 1st. They're actually going to do it April vacation now because there was a mix-up when they ordered the coil, and they ordered it with, the company shipped it with outside dimensions instead of inside dimensions, so they had to reorder to get a replacement.
I know, well, at the last meeting, I know it came up, Mrs. Moore had a question about the tick of mosquito spraying. Did you want to
Yeah.
ask Larry?
Yeah, I have Modern Pest is supposed to be getting back in touch with me to come up and give me a quote on what it will cost to do all the ball fields at the playgrounds.
Right, yeah.
They're
we
supposed to
usually-
come up sometime this week, although I don't know now.
Well, from what I hear, the ticks are gonna be crazy this year, so.
Yeah, it's
protection.
supposed to be mosquitoes and ticks that they'll do.
Yeah, they're gonna, so I wanted to ask that, and I wanted to, while we're all sitting here, next Monday, the next school board meeting on the 18th, if we can have a subcommittee for the SAU space meeting that day as well, while I'm thinking of it, at 5 o'clock. Just
Yep.
before the school board meeting.
Works for me.
Okay?
Larry, is there, now that we've done so much work to the athletic fields, are we on some kind of a fertilizer and
Yes.
maintenance program?
Yes.
Is it, can you talk a little bit about it?
Hillside, who did the work on the fields, they fertilized, took care of it in the fall to get it
Okay.
ready for the winter. Actually, they seeded the baseball and softball field. They actually did it all. Actually put seed down into the ground. They call it a roller, I guess.
Yeah.
And to germinate it will germinate in the spring.
Okay.
He's already on a schedule. It was supposed to be within the next 2 weeks to come and start doing the initial fertilizing for the spring, but now with the snow and stuff, I don't know, it might push it out a little further. But there's a 6-stage thing on it.
Excellent.
I have one more.
Mrs. Moore?
I know Matt's not here, but I noticed on his report there was some property damage here at the high school. Do we know what that property damage was?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one it was.
Okay.
He had referenced in the
his
discipline part of his
discipline
report
numbers.
that there was some property damage done and student discipline issued. So we weren't sure what it was.
Here,
Yeah, it's in Matt's report.
there are 2 recent things. One, we had the burning maple syrup issue, which was a faculty issue. Then we had a student who was in here illegally at night. We took care of that with both the custodians and the student. Those are the 2 he's referring to.
I
There
don't
was
know,
a
it just
student
says
riding a
property damage.
skateboard around the high school. That's illegal, and there's not supposed to be anybody in here at night.
Right.
It was rectified. We spoke to the parent.
Okay.
Anything else for Larry? Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure your mom appreciates this at home. I like to give her a shout out.
Thank you, Ryan.
Larry's turning pink over there. Look at that.
All right. And, Dr. Pfeiffer has a report for
Yep,
us as well.
it's written. I handed it out to you. A couple of things, just for the public's sake. We now have 2 administrators of the 3 at Henry Wilson Memorial School. I'd really like to thank both Jessica Richardson and Katrina Mochamp, who is the school nurse. Both are doing a lot of work and have been bombarded, but they're making their way through the issues and the problems and seeing the kids, and I appreciate them being here. Just a couple of other things. We've completed the annual staff evaluations. I'd like to do a little work over the summer on evidence collection to go with our Danielson system. Otherwise, we are doing some training on interview procedures on using best practice. We'll do a session tomorrow, then we'll have one more session with the administrators. So I think we've got a lot of things going on. We'll be doing the papers for non-renewals and resignations shortly, because they have to be out by the 15th, and the nominations as well, contracts. And then shortly after that, probably on the 18th, I'll have the list of nominations for paraprofessionals and custodians, secretaries.
Any questions for Dr. Pfeiffer?
Well,
Mr. Petrie?
just that, I know the 15th is the deadline, but we've had trouble in the past where people have gamed the system. In other words, they won't show up the last 2 days, so they won't get served.
I have a GPS in my car, and I'm sure I can find a lot of homes.
Well, I'm speaking from experience that,
I've been told that, so, we'll probably try to get them out early so that we more than meet the deadline. For professionals, we're not under that gun with paraprofessionals, but that they need to know too, so.
I'm sorry, Mr. Frida.
Concerning the comment about the sharper distinction between Danielson's proficiency and the evidence, are we using Danielson's rubrics directly, or do we have our own normalized versions?
No, we use one of her older rubrics. There are newer ones, but we are using one that was recommended by the state.
But we haven't, Danielson recommends that when you use her rubric, you have a discussion about what the evidence looks like for each school and, what we can do. Did we do that, or are we not doing it?
And then she gives you a quarter of an inch to put that down in writing. You need much more space than that to relate to it, so it's tied to Danielson, but it really helps people to understand what evidence is needed legally, particularly to non-renew an individual. So we're using a third party to help us with that.
So are we going to normalize her rubric to this district or not? Because there's no space.
It is.
I don't understand
Well,
what
the
your answer is.
Danielson system that was, is a state framework, I guess, is the correct way to put it, but anyhow, suggested system is now about 3 or 4 years old. So we're working to try to work on that system so we provide more evidence. Is that what you asked?
No, I'm asking if we're using the rubric directly, or did we make our own language to define what the evidence looks like at Farmington?
We use the rubric directly.
Okay, so then I would suggest that that's probably why you're having trouble distinguishing between the level and the evidence, because Danielson suggests in her own paper that you can't just use a rubric directly, it's too generalized. You have to
She's also been critiqued on the national level.
Well, that's fine, but if you're going to use it, then you should use it correctly, and we should maybe define what evidence looks like for Farmington for each of those things, and then we won't have a problem.
We will do that. That's my goal during the summer, is
All
to
right.
level the playing field. So,
I'm sorry, anybody else? Anything else for Dr. Pfeiffer? I've got something, I'm going to bring it up under old business. Farmington High School graduation date.
well, I think we have two choices. Our 175th day will be the 15th of June, which would make the following Saturday. You do Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
The
students
18th, the
go
graduate
there
date,
Saturday.
unless we were to pull the seniors in for some extra time between now and then maybe we could do the 10th, but we'd have to pick up 3 days of time with them. Seniors may graduate on the 75th day or thereafter.
So you're looking at June 18th.
At the latest, unless we can develop a schedule, then would you prefer to go earlier? But I'd have to bring the kids in on Saturdays or some other system for clock hours.
No, I think the 18th.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the first available Saturday, I don't see any reason to try to coordinate all that.
Yeah, I think that would, for 3 days, I think that's silly. We'd have to pay staff.
And our last day of school on the 108th day will be the 22nd, which is a Wednesday. We did lose one day. Thankfully, we didn't lose today. We've had a couple of delays.
Played baseball today.
We may not be playing baseball for a few days.
Do we typically motion this?
I'll make a motion that graduation be held Saturday, June 18th at 10 a.m.
I will inform Matt tomorrow. So
Motion by Mrs. Moran, 10 a.m. Saturday, June 18th, sorry. Do I have a second?
I have a second.
Second by Mrs. Cardinal.
I will inform him, and we'll also inform the public and parents, because I know many people are looking to make plans. So,
Any other further discussion on graduation date?
Yeah, is there any way we can do, some schools do a brown bag day, when it days
Blizzard
like.
bag?
What's
A
that?
blizzard bag?
A blizzard bag. And why couldn't we make up time with extra work, not necessarily extra days?
well, we've had a little discussion about that at the administrative team level, but there's a lot more organization that has to go into that so that we can do that.
Because it puts them
It
at
takes preparation, because teachers have to be by the computer to receive the questions from the students. But the Governor Worth is doing it. Kearsarge was the first one to do it.
brown bag.
Yeah.
I think we've discussed this several years in a row. There has to be an 80% buy-in by the students and the staff. And what we have found in the last few years, and it may be different, I mean, we could go out and ask again, but I mean, most kids have technology now. When we were looking at it before, the amount of children in district that had technology that they could log on and interact, because the teachers have to interact with them on some level in order for it to count.
Well, they become at a disadvantage when it comes to, when they work for summer jobs. And what happens, they're a week or two behind and with other schools, and so they don't get the opportunities that other kids have from other districts.
Well, with lots of cooperation and discussion, I'm sure that's something we could move forward towards next year. I don't think we can do it this year.
Just as a note, they don't have to be digital. Certainly it works if you have a learning management system or something that the kids can log on to, which I would love if we did, but you can also make them paper-based, as long as the kids agree to do them, and they turn them in, and teachers grade them. It can
We have
count
to have an
just as-
80%, however it works.
We'd have to have a definite plan. It can't be just haphazard. We have to have a plan that has to be submitted, and it has to be approved.
We have a motion and a second for graduation date, June 18th. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. June 18th. Shipping out another crew. Request purchase of digital signage.
I'm going to give Laurie that responsibility.
In your board packet, you have information in reference to this. We have budgeted in our school improvement grant $23,320, specifically for the purpose of purchasing 4 digital type signage. Actually, I want to call them how would I describe this? Announcement?
An announcement
type,
board?
An announcement board, yes. And working with Rick Bailey, Rick did a lot of research on the types of equipment, what we would need to have so that we're not overbuying, something that is going to be easy for the district to use, to maintain it.
So with that said, I did a public bid and sent it out to 3 companies, B&F Photo, Capterra, and MVix in Sterling, Virginia. B&H Photo out of New York responded and said that they just were not interested in doing this, that they really did not have the type of equipment that we wanted. Capterra did not respond to my phone calls, and so that left MVix, who had provided pricing last December, and we asked, would you be willing to continue with that pricing? And they did sign off on what's attached as a digital signage proposal. So the cost would be for 3 pieces. We found that we really only need to have 2 at the high school and 1 at Henry Wilson. Just administration talked about this at a meeting. So we are looking to still have you award this purchase to MVix for not to exceed price of $7,902. The unspent monies from the grant will roll back into the grant and may be able to be rewritten for another purpose.
Why do we need 2 at the high school? Sorry, Joe.
The 2 at the high school, one's going to be on the first floor, and the second one will be on the second floor in the common area of the high school.
How does this improve the school? What is it going to do?
Well, a couple of ways is you're putting announcements out there. You may be putting pictures, maybe sports pictures, talking about events coming up, things like that. It's just feel that it's a good way to be able to give students a sense of community in their building, helping them to be connected to their building.
When it was specifically written into the grant, I don't know, can you just elaborate on it a little bit, Cynthia? Or?
When the discussion came up back into the summer, I guess it was, when we were working on this, something that's in both of the school improvement grants for the high school and Henry Wilson is student engagement, culture and climate within the building, as well as parent and community engagement. And both of these buildings see a lot of parent and community in from time to time. So they felt that this would be good. They could get information out to students that they wanted students to know, and also publicize things for parents in the community when they're in the buildings.
I have to say, I kind of see where Stan's coming from. I don't see how this is going to enhance the learning. Is this information that they can't get on Power School? I guess I'm seeing this flashing marquee light. Maybe that's just what I'm seeing of this scrolling bit of information. You're only going to get data bits as you're going through the hall.
Mr. Bailey's here, our technology director. Would you mind coming to the microphone and just, and since you've done the research, just tell us, Rick, a little bit about what it can do?
As Lori was stating, a lot of it is announcements, news, and, quite frankly, whatever the school administration wants to advertise to the students, if it's scheduled sports events, stuff like that. To answer the question about how does it help learning, I don't think it's about learning. I think it's about just being informed in whatever the aspect may be, whether it be news or sporting events and stuff like that. Now, as far as research of different products go, I actually researched quite a few different digital signage solutions. This seemed to be the most easiest to use without costing, absorbing annual fees.
Can you give us an idea of what it visually looks like? Like, we've got this small little bar thing out here that gives digital messages. What comparatively?
A lot of companies use them for digital menus, in restaurants and stuff like that. You'll see them in malls, with different advertisements and stuff like that. But in the school setting, generally it's, whether it be morning announcements, afternoon announcements, along with, maybe a scrolling ticker with the scores of the last, couple of games. And, if you want, maybe a little weather forecast and maybe a slideshow of, some of the students' art.
55-inch. So
55.
it's not, right, so it's not as if it's a
Right.
small scrolling marquee type, so it will have.
What's the
yeah,
dimensions?
So 55-inch, so.
It's probably diagonal.
Right.
And one of the features of
50 by
the
29.
digital displays is they can be oriented in a portrait manner. So if you're scrolling big messages or whatever, but it, gives kind of the flexibility.
So a $500 TV that's projecting a presentation on the website where all this stuff can be, both for the public, it's a lot better deal, it seems to me.
I'm going to ask you to wait till public, sorry, I'm going to be strict about that.
Was the request to go out for bid brought to the board already?
No.
This isn't one of those
This is
things
something
we-
that was written into the grant, let me see, I'm trying to figure out when,
It's not
several
something we
months
already
ago.
knew was coming.
Actually, it was last November. So, based upon a purchase of this size and this dollar amount, it would be my responsibility to go out and try and solicit and getting the prices. So, I think some of the discussion had occurred last fall when we were embarking getting accredited, and that the recommendation was that this could be an avenue to improve culture and climate. I looked at the recurring cost, and the recurring cost is $252, and that is for all 3 units, so that's just the software piece.
Yep.
That's it. So it's really the first-time capital investment from the school improvement grant funds.
Mrs. Moran?
Rick, what's the difference between this and the TV that we have down at Henry Wilson already? We have that TV that scrolls. What's the difference between this and that? Is it just a matter of what we put on it or how we put it on it?
No, but that's a very good question. Because initially I was thinking, okay, 55-inch TV, we've got 1 or 2 of them, you can pick them up at Walmart for a couple $100. Until I started doing a little bit of this research and found that historically, people who use TVs for digital signage displays or announcements and that such, that they end up replacing the display after a year or 2 because it's not meant to run, the amount of hours that, these are up and running displaying information. And so the displays that these companies produce are designed to run, 24/7. And they have a much better warranty, 3 years rather than a 1 year that, unless you go with the aftermarket warranties. But the other thing is, the portrait capability. But, which you can't do with the TV. So those are the major differences.
Is there an opportunity that you could show us what this would look like? I mean, if we brought this back for more discussion, is there some way that you can do some
A presentation
on what this looks like and how it's going to benefit students?
Yeah, maybe an example of another school?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I certainly, Mr. Fried, if you just a second, I certainly can see the benefit as far as engagement's concerned. I would argue that upstairs isn't the best place. I think that back hallway where people are always in and out for school events is probably a better hallway, but that's logistics. But
Right.
I think I'd like to see how other schools maybe use it.
Yeah.
If we had an example of that and I could kind of see it in action, I could certainly make a better decision.
Absolutely, we
Mr.
can arrange
Frieda.
that.
Well, you made a comment about the portrait capability that a TV doesn't do. Can you explain that?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
You made a comment about a portrait capability that a TV won't do. Explain that.
The commercial digital displays, if you will, have the ability to display in a portrait manner without having to do software trickery to do that, or, it may not be trickery, but, so that is kind of like these touchscreen monitors, the ones we have at Henry Wilson and Valley View. The moment you turn on portrait, the screen automatically flips. And so depending on what it is you're displaying, sometimes you may want the portrait format, and other times you may not.
So they're not going to be mounted? People are going to be flipping them around all the time?
My understanding is that they come with a swivel mount, because everything to mount the TV is included with this package, so to speak.
I'm going to motion to table.
Motion to table by Mrs. Moran,
Second.
second by Mr. Frieda. All those in favor? Aye. So we'll table it, maybe come back with a little bit more depth presentation.
And the 18th? Is that,
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah. We note that, Mrs. Cardinal, that we're going to have that on the 18th agenda. Thank you. Okay. Any other new business from the board before we go into old business?
Included in your information tonight, you had asked for an inventory of the smart boards, and that is provided for you. And also a job description for the transition specialist this fall was also included for you.
Okay, on the old business, okay. Was there any other new business? Mrs. Moran?
I think maybe some future agendas, we have some districts around our area that have been talking about the use of Narcan in their schools, so maybe that might need to be a conversation that we need to have. And I know our friends in Candia are also talking the transgender issue, so that might, I don't know if it's an issue here, but.
That actually came up on election day.
You did.
It did.
Quite in
So-
depth.
Those
Yeah.
might be some conversations and some policies that we're going to need to either format or come up with.
Okay, so we do have that smart board and transition specialist information provided to us. Under old business, has the admin team had an opportunity to talk about the structure of parent-teacher conferences? Mrs. Vittorioso at our last meeting brought forward some concerns. Has that been a conversation that we've had?
We have not, but I have more information.
For tonight?
Well, if you want, you had asked, this was listed on the calendar as a day for Valley View, not for the other schools, which were involved with a professional development day on the first. So parent conferences were only to be held at Valley View, not at the two other schools.
You know what, I remember that conversation from last year, because I was not in favor of that.
Yes, that was part of the
Yeah,
accreditation thing. They were
Correct.
supposed to work on accreditation,
Correct.
and then the other ones were having parent. I remember.
okay, all right, well, that's some answer.
We did a lot of things on Friday. Diana did an excellent job putting together an agenda for that day, multi-purpose, and I think there were a lot of excellent offerings.
Mr. Tegman, before we go on, we all also got an email from Mr. Condon about the parking out front. And in researching and talking with the officials, it is designated as a fire lane, but looking at where the white lines are and researching a little bit, it doesn't look like our fire lanes are properly marked. There's no signs out there. It's not written on the ground. So we might need to, one, have the fire department come and properly mark it, or the town, so that we know
There's no signage. We could-
There's no sign designating the front of the building as a fire lane. There is the white markings that are out there. So I did tell Mr. Condon that I would address the fire lane issue. And parking.
Thank you. I'm not parking out back.
I'm still not in the fire lane.
I'm out back, and thank you, Jeff, for pointing that out to us. Anything else under old business? Mr. Frida?
I've got a couple of things. I don't know whether it's new or old, but we talked the last time about the 21st Century Grant. I thought we were going to get a copy of the proposal we submitted. We didn't get that, at least I
Didn't see any direction from the board on that. You're talking about 13-14? It's now void.
13-14.
That's when the proposal was submitted. Was
Is it for
13.
multi-year?
I believe they're for 5 years, Dan.
So-
But it's void because Stratford County backed out of it. It's not a contract when they back out.
Well, so,
I'm waiting for the commissioner. She had asked that we come up at some point. I'm waiting for an invitation. I was told that her office would set a time and a day for it.
so we can't get a copy of the proposal that?
Yes,
we
certainly.
Okay.
I could, of 13-14, but what
Well,
I'm saying...
the one that we submitted, yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't.
It originated in '08.
Yeah, when we had talked about it, because the argument was whether or not it was a school program, and then since we submitted a proposal, I wanted to see what it said.
I'd be glad to get you that. Does the whole board want a copy?
I would.
I'm good.
You want one, Joe?
Sure.
I'm all right.
We'll get copies and put it on the net
If you
for
put it in the
you.
drive, that'd be good.
Oh, okay.
If you're going to
Okay.
put it in the drive, yes.
Because it's pretty
Yeah.
thick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want a paper copy.
All I'm saying is a contract that's no longer valid.
That's why I thought it was a given, but I guess I better not, I suppose.
For,
Hold on, Mr. Fritz had a couple things, so I just want to...
And something we should either put on an agenda for later, but if you remember when we negotiated the para contract, one of the things we were supposed to talk about is the PD policies for them so that we can straighten that out. We agreed not to put complicated language in the contract because we were going to discuss it as a board and make
You're
it
talking
into
professional
policy.
development, right?
The professional development process for paras to get professional development, which apparently was a little bit in question. So if we can put that on the agenda so we can somehow iron that out and solve that problem, that would be great.
I do have the contract here, and it needs to be signed. If you would sign it for us, and that Paige will sign it.
Was that it, Stan?
And just one more thing, I know I was assigned or whatever last time, a couple of months ago, to work on the policy for the digital implementation of our minutes and things like that. And I can certainly do some ideas now. It's not quite finished, but I would recommend that we adopt some kind of standardized naming of files so that they're easy to find and identify. Because people just name them what they want, and it's going to be hard for the record. So I would suggest that we come up with a standardized platform. I can suggest one, but it doesn't have to be something that I suggest.
Do you want to call me so that I could get some of those that you think would be viable?
Mrs. Cardinal?
Just seeing as we presented, the school board presented to the town budget committee on December 5th, what the fiscal year 16-17 school budget was going to look like. That was prior to adopting the SAU budget as part of the Farmington School Board budget. That was prior to finalizing any health insurance changes, and then residual changes that had to happen as a result. I'd like to suggest that at the next meeting, we prepare and present an update.
Well, I did make
to the
comments in
PowerPoint.
my report. I think we're in a healthy status even with some of those evolution, but we'll be glad, as good as we can in April, to give you a point of where it is.
Yeah, just for the public's knowledge as well.
Anything else, Mrs. Cardinal? Mr. Petrie, anything else?
Sounds good.
Mr. Moore?
I'm all set.
Public participation. Mr. Henry.
Do you want to do a transition session?
Well, Mr. Moore.
Oh, just one.
Just going to talk about the signage for a little bit. $7,000 for 3 signs seems like quite a bit for what are essentially TVs. I do understand that they're not your typical $500 TV, but $7,000 will buy a lot of TVs when they, if and when they wear out too. I would be happy to write software for displays that is tailored to whatever needs the district may dream up with. They also make large signage displays that are touch capable, so we could make the signs interactive if we wanted, to where we could bring up schedules or whatever other information. I'd be happy to mock something up for the next meeting if you like, to kind of give you an example of what we could do with some homegrown software that wouldn't cost you anything, and possibly some touch if that's something you'd be interested in.
I would be more comfortable if you worked with Rick to do that. It's kind of his.
Yeah,
purview.
I don't know what the vision for what the signage is. I mean, some of that's limited by what the vendors provide, but.
I'm not uncomfortable with the idea.
No, that's great.
I think
Thank you,
I
Steve.
would like it to be in with Rick. That's my.
I think I could give you some ideas that cost quite a bit less.
If I may, I think this could be a learning opportunity also with kids. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Do we have any software development classes at the high school? Well, I'm sure there's some stuff up at Kingswood, but do we have anything here? Even some introductory
I don't.
programming?
I don't have the.
Very basic.
No pun intended?
What do they use for that, you know?
I think they're doing some Java, and I think they were doing Visual Basic at one time. Java, I think, might be the only one left at the moment.
Yeah, VB's pretty rare, but I'd be coding it in C# and give you the code. I mean, they can tweak and work with it if they want. The other point I'll make, it seems pretty common to buy some really fancy stuff with grant money, and then it sits there because nobody knows how to use it or update it. So, you know, if we do some signage, I hope we know who's going to update it and with what information, or, you know, hopefully multiple parties can work with it. So another thing to keep in mind, so we don't have more grant money just hanging on the wall unused.
Thank you. Mrs. Vittorioso.
Thanks, Steve.
I like saying that last name. Do your kids play sports? Am I going to be able to announce that name soday?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that stretches out. It's going to sound great.
All the letters, yes. I went from Kelly to Vittorioso. I had 3 things. One, as I know that Barrington has a TV. When you walk in, the kids make all the displays, and there's PowerPoint presentations, and there's announcements, and it's done through the technology teacher there. So that's a place that you guys want to look into and see how they do it. The second thing that I wanted to address, I understand that what you said about the conferences at Valley View, and it was a scheduled day for professional development at Henry Wilson in the high school. I just didn't know if that was what the policy was going to be in the future, or if that was going to change. Because next year I have 2 kids at Henry Wilson, and I didn't know. And I will say the teacher was very accommodating. I'm meeting with her this week. It wasn't that. It was just that I didn't know what. If it was going to be policy that next year too it would be a work day.
I believe the plan has been to do, all the schools do one in the fall, and then Valley View does a second one in the spring. We've not talked about, because we had other goals to work on for either the high school or for Henry Wilson. But doesn't mean we can't.
Right. It's just very difficult from a parent point of view that you ask for parent communication, and that is a great day to have it. There's no school, the kids aren't here, we're already coming to Valley View, or some parents are already coming from Valley View to have a conference. And I understand the teachers, believe me, I have a lot of professional responsibilities, but there's also a half day every month that they have their time to do those professional responsibilities, or even a half day just for conference and the other half of the day for professional development. I don't know. I just think it's a great way to utilize a day that's already there and across all, and then you can implement the student-led conferences at Henry Wilson and the high school.
I think there was some pretty spirited debate about this issue last year, now that I recall, and, you know, I'll just make a statement that I've made in the past. We tend to say that parents become less involved as their kids get older, and I think that does happen to an extent. But I also think sometimes we help that along, in not a good way, and that may be one of those examples. So I'm all for it, but I know we do have some commitments to getting certain things done timeline-wise as far as accreditation goes, and I think those dates were built into that plan. So I'm not necessarily sure that you'll see that change, but I think we're going to at least have that conversation.
And then my third thing, I was just wanted a point of clarification. You said that at Henry Wilson there's Ms. Richardson. Is she the principal, the vice principal?
Assistant principal.
She's the assistant principal, and then a nurse has been hired.
Yes.
And then the principal position, I was just kind of looking for a status. I had asked 2 weeks ago. I did get a newsletter, I have to say, for the first time from Henry Wilson this week. That was very nice, but it did not address that. It talked about lice and testing and all kinds of other informative things that were wonderful, but there wasn't anything about the leadership or what was going to happen. And then, as you stated, tonight we're going to have those people reapply.
Our principal candidate has not been released from his school district.
Okay.
Disappointing.
So my question is then, so you're just going to go with an assistant principal?
Right now, we have an assistant principal with support from other building administrators still. We are at the mercy of another school district, as we were with our assistant principal. She was fortunate enough to be able to get out of her contract. It's not always easy to replace people at this time of year, so we're hoping that it happens soon, but we're really...
So then if it doesn't happen, are you going to reopen that position? I mean, you're going to need it for next year.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be, like I said at the last meeting, it'll be posted for next year anyway, because these are just interim positions. But if it doesn't happen fairly soon, we're going to have a conversation about what we're going to do.
And how will the parents be I mean, I come and ask, and I watch on TV, and I just curious as to how the parents and the kids are going to be informed of this. I mean, you said that the assistant principal was going around and talking to the kids, which is great, but...
She's been very visible throughout the building, meeting with teachers, talking to kids, being involved. But till the picture is complete, haven't felt like we can talk about who we have and what we're doing and what our goals are, you know.
Okay. So it's just going to remain unclear.
She is very visible, as the nurse has been very visible in the building, in her office.
Yep.
We're taking care of a lot of kids that have either temporary illness or bruises or other types of injuries, and, you know.
I think for right now, it's as clear as it can be, you know.
Well, it's clear to Mrs. Vittorioso because she's standing before us, but I think if I'm understanding her point, couldn't it be appropriate at this time, since Henry Wilson has been in such a state of limbo this year, that a letter goes home from you, Dr. Pfeiffer, welcoming aboard your new assistant principal and your new nurse, and just say that, you know, we hope to have a principal on board soon.
I did so in my report tonight, and I just mentioned it orally, but I'd be glad to do that. You know, I've been waiting, and it's unfortunate what's happened.
Thank you.
Is there an announcement on the website? We can put announcements on the website, too.
Sure. Anybody else from the public? I will say that since we touched on the topic of Henry Wilson, interestingly, on Election Day, having seen a lot of paras that work at the building and some parents of students in the building, there was a concern that when we do have principal reports that you know, you're hearing about all the great things happening at Valley View and the high school and some of the staff members down there, despite the wonderful things that have continued to happen with an absence of leadership. really doesn't get mentioned. So I do want to assure you that we are aware that there are wonderful things continuing to happen at Henry Wilson, like their Spirit Week, and Read Across America, I understand, was very successful down there. I apologize that it doesn't come to us in way of a report from a principal, because we haven't had one, but we do acknowledge that there continue to be great things happening at Henry Wilson, and that's due to the staff. And it's my plan to go, I believe, on Wednesday, and to address the staff and to thank them for everything that they've done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, no other public input. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, those at home, for viewing, tuning in. We will be back on April 18th, 2016, and I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved under RSA 91A:3-2.
Motion by
Resignation to nomination.
Mrs. Moore and second by Mr. Frieda by roll. Mr. Frieda.
Yay.
Mrs. Cardinal. Mr. Petrie. Mrs. Moore.
Yay.
And I'm a yay. Good night, thank you.